Marco's phone buzzed for the 5th time in 10 minutes. He didn't look at it. He was late, stuck in traffic on a two-lane highway somewhere between the city and his grandmother's house, and he still didn't have a gift. He'd been so busy with the product launch that he'd forgotten. Again, his grandmother Helena would smile and say it didn't matter, but it did matter. She was turning 83, and lately, every birthday felt more important than the last. The traffic crawled forward. Marco drummed his fingers on the steering wheel, scanning the roadside for something, anything. A gas station, a convenience store. He wasn't asking for much. Then he saw it. A small wooden stand under a faded blue awning, tucked between two oak trees. Hand-painted letters on a board out front said fresh fruit and homemade jams. Marco pulled over without thinking. The stand was simple. A few crates of apples and peaches. Rows of glass jars filled with dark red jam, golden preserves, something purple he couldn't identify. Behind the counter stood a young woman in a white t-shirt and jeans, her dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. She was writing something in a notebook and didn't notice him at first. "Excuse me," Marco said. She looked up and he saw her eyes. Brown, warm, the kind of eyes that made you feel like she actually saw you, not just the expensive watch or the tailored shirt. "Hi," she said, smiling. "What can I get you?" Marco glanced at the jars. "I need a gift for my grandmother. I don't know what she'd like." The woman set down her notebook and came around the counter. She picked up a jar filled with deep red jam and held it up to the light. "This is strawberry rhubarb. I made it last week. It's sweet, but not too sweet. A lot of people say it reminds them of home." Marco took the jar from her. It was still warm from the sun. The label was handwritten in neat, looping letters. "You made this?" "Yeah, me and my mom. We grow most of the fruit ourselves. The rest we get from neighbors." She pointed to another jar. "That one's blackberry. And that's apricot vanilla. If your grandmother likes something different, that's a good one." Marco looked at her. Really looked. There was something about the way she talked. No sales pitch. No fake enthusiasm. Just honest and direct, like she believed in what she was doing. "How much?" he asked. $8 a jar. He almost laughed. $8. He'd spent more than that on coffee this morning. He pulled out his wallet and handed her a 50. "I'll take all 3. She blinked. "All 3? Yeah." She wrapped the jars carefully in newspaper and put them in a small paper bag. When she handed him his change, their fingers touched for just a second. Marco felt something shift in his chest. Something unfamiliar. "What's your name?" he asked. "Clara. I'm Marco." She smiled again, softer this time. "I hope your grandmother likes them." He should have left then. He had 20 minutes to get to Helena's house. But he didn't move. "Do you sell here every day?" "Most days. Weekends for sure." He nodded slowly. "Okay, good to know." Clara tilted her head, studying him. "You're not from around here, are you?" "No. I live in the city, about an hour north." "What brings you out this way?" "My grandmother. She lives in Cedarwood." "I know Cedarwood. Small place. Pretty." "Yeah, it is." They stood there in the quiet for a moment, just looking at each other. Finally, Marco stepped back. "I should go, but thanks for the jam and for helping me." "Any time," Clara said. Marco drove the rest of the way to his grandmother's house in a daze. He kept thinking about Clara, the way she smiled, the way she talked about the jam like it mattered, like it wasn't just fruit and sugar, like it was part of something bigger. Helena loved the jam. She opened the strawberry rhubarb right there at the table and spread it on a piece of toast. "This is wonderful," she said, closing her eyes as she tasted it. "Where did you find this?" "A stand on the highway." Helena looked at him over her glasses. And what?" "There's something else. I can see it on your face." Marco shook his head, smiling despite himself. "There was a woman. She made the jam. Her name's Clara. And nothing. I bought the jam. That's it." Helena set down her toast and reached across the table to pat his hand. "Marco, You're 42 years old. You work too much. You don't laugh enough. If you met someone who made you feel something, don't let it go." He didn't answer, but he thought about it the whole drive home. The next Saturday, Marco found himself on that same highway. He told himself he needed to get out of the city, that he just wanted some fresh air. But Wade pulled up to the fruit stand and saw Clara behind the counter. He knew he'd been lying to himself all week. She looked up and smiled like she'd been expecting him. "Back for more jam?" "Something like that." She laughed. "Your grandmother must really like it." "She does. But I wanted to try the apricot vanilla. You said it was different." Clara handed him a jar. "You won't be disappointed." Marco paid and stood there, holding the jar like an idiot. Clara watched him, amused. "Is there something else?" "Yeah, actually. Do you want to get coffee sometime?" She blinked. "Coffee. Or lunch. Or dinner. Whatever works." Clara's smile faded a little. She looked down at the counter, then back at him. "I don't know if that's a good idea." "Why not?" "Because I don't know you, and you don't know me, and honestly, you look like someone who has a very different kind of life than I do." Marco set the jar down and leaned on the counter. "You're right. I do have a different kind of life. I spend 60 hours a week in meetings and staring at screens. I can't remember the last time I did something that felt real. But then I came here, and you talked to me like a person, not like a bank account. And I haven't been able to stop thinking about it." Clara stared at him. For a long moment, she didn't say anything. Then she sighed. "I get off at 5. There's a diner 2 miles down the road. Murphy's. If you want to meet me there, we can talk." Marco smiled. "I'll be there." Murphy's diner smelled like fried onions and fresh coffee. Marco sat in a booth by the window, watching the door. At 5:15, Clara walked in. She'd changed into a clean shirt and let her hair down. She looked nervous. She slid into the booth across from him. "I almost didn't come." "But you did." "Yeah, I did." They ordered coffee and pie, and for the first hour, they just talked. Clara told him about her family. Her mom had been sick a few years ago, and the medical bills had wiped them out. That's why Clara started making jam. It wasn't much, but it helped. She took online classes at night, hoping to finish her degree someday. Marco told her about his company, how he'd built it from nothing, how it had taken over his whole life, how he couldn't remember the last time he'd done something just because he wanted to, not because it made sense for business. "That sounds lonely," Clara said quietly. Marco looked at her, surprised. "Yeah, it is." They met again the next weekend, and the weekend after that. Marco started driving out to see her every Saturday. He'd help her set up the stand in the morning, and they'd spend the afternoon together, talking, laughing, learning each other. Clara didn't care about his money. She didn't ask about his company or his connections. She asked him what he was afraid of, what he missed, what made him happy. And for the first time in years, Marco felt like someone actually cared about the answer. 2 months later, a photo showed up online. Someone had snapped a picture of Marco and Clara walking together, holding hands. The headline read, "Tech Billionaire's Mystery Woman." By Monday morning, Marco's phone was flooded with messages. His business partner, Richard, called him into his office. "Who is she?" "Her name's Clara. She's someone I'm seeing." Richard leaned back in his chair. "Marco, you're the face of this company. People look at you and see success, innovation. You can't be seen with some random girl from a fruit stand. It looks bad." Marco felt anger rise in his throat. "She's not some random girl. And I don't care how it looks. You should care. Investors care. The board cares. Then they can deal with it." Richard sighed. "This is a mistake." Marco walked out, but the pressure didn't stop. The rumors grew. People dug into Clara's life, her family, her past. She started getting messages. Mean ones, cruel ones. One night, she called him, her voice shaking. "Marco, I can't do this. My mom saw the things people are saying online. It's hurting my family. This was supposed to be simple. Just us. But it's not simple anymore. Clara, don't do this." "I have to." The line went dead. Marco spent the next week in a fog. He couldn't work, couldn't focus. Helena called him and told him he was being an idiot. If you love her, fight for her. Don't just sit there feeling sorry for yourself. So he did. Marco found a small, empty storefront in Clara's town. He leased it, renovated it, and filled it with shelves. Then he called Clara. I need to show you something. She met him outside the shop, her arms crossed. What is this? It's yours. A place to sell your jams, your preserves, whatever you want. You don't have to take it, but I want you to know that I believe in you, in what you do, and I'm not going anywhere. Clara's eyes filled with tears. Why would you do this? Because you show me what it feels like to be human again. She stepped forward and kissed him, and the world around them disappeared. 6 months later, Clara's shop was thriving. Marco had started a community project, connecting local farmers with small businesses. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't about the money, but it mattered. Richard came to visit one Saturday and found Marco behind the counter, helping Clara pack jars. He shook his head, smiling. I was wrong about her. Marco grinned. Yeah, you were. Clara came home with Marco that night. They sat on the porch of his grandmother's house, watching the stars. Helena brought them tea and kissed them both on the head before going inside. You know, Clara said, leaning against him, I never thought my life would look like this. Neither did I, Marco said, but I'm glad it does. Me too. And for the first time in a long time, Marco felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be.
Thank you for watching. Your support means the world. Keep cheering us on and stay tuned for more stories.